What's up guys, today I'm going to show you all the parts you need to take a stock F30 BMW 335i to stage 1 and from stage 1 to stage 2 using boot mode. I'm also going to show you where I buy all my parts from, and I'm going to do a complete breakdown of the cost. Let's start with where I buy my parts from. So I get all my parts from Extreme Powerhouse. I'm not in any way affiliated with these guys, but I bought many parts from them and I've never had any issue. Now let's talk about tuning your car to stage 1 using boot mode. To tune your car to stage 1, you're going to need three things. You're going to need a laptop, you're going to need the boot mode license, and you're going to need the OBD Ethernet cable. Now, like I mentioned earlier, if you order your license from extremepowerhouse.com, you're going to get the Ethernet OBD cable included for free. So for $595, you're getting the boot mode license with one OTS map of your choice. That brings the stage 1 total to $595. But there is a way you can save some money. Boot mode license can be transferred one time. That means if you can find someone who has boot mode installed on their car and they want to sell their license, they can transfer it to you one time. After that, you can't transfer it to anyone else. And these people will usually sell you the license for like $200. But I bought my license brand new, so I'm gonna leave the total at $595. Now before we move on to stage 2, I have to mention charge pipes really quick. So if you know anything about the BMW N55 engine, you know the stock charge pipe is made out of plastic and they crack easily, especially if you tune the cars. Now, the reason I didn't include the charge pipe as part of the stage 1 cost is because I ran the car tuned with the stock charge pipe. I didn't have any issues with it. I also have some friends who have done the same thing and they didn't have any issues with it. Now in the long term, I'm sure the charge pipe would have cracked on me, so if you're only planning on going stage 1, you should probably upgrade to an aluminum charge pipe. Okay, now let's move on to stage 2. The first thing I ordered was a VRSF aluminum charge pipe for $211. The next thing I ordered was a VRSF high density 5-inch intercooler for $342. Now I know a lot of people like to go with other brands like Evolution Raceworks, but I picked VRSF because it's cheaper than Evolution Raceworks and some of the other brands, and I haven't had any fitment or quality issues with VRSF, no boost leaks. I think if you install it correctly, you're going to be fine. The next thing I ordered was a VRSF high flow catted downpipe for $427. Now, $427, that's a lot of money for a VRSF downpipe. The reason it costs so much is because this one is catted, and I also ordered the replacement gaskets along with the V-band clamp. You can save yourself a lot of money if you just order a VRSF catless downpipe. That only costs $250. So after buying everything I need to go stage 2, I ended up spending $980. Now let's move into the optional / recommended section. I bought a BMS intake for $230. It doesn't say anywhere that an intake is required to tune your car, but it really improves the airflow. It helps the car breathe better, also improves the sound a lot. I definitely recommend getting an intake when you're tuning the car, or even if you're not tuning the car. Next on the list is the OTS map bundle for $50. So like I mentioned earlier, when you buy the boot mode license, you get one map of your choice included with the license, but for an additional $50, you're going to get all of the OTS maps. That's what I did, and I definitely think it's worth it. Next is the boot mode Wi-Fi agent. If you don't want to have your laptop every time you need to tune the car, or if you want to data log with the car and you don't want to have your laptop flying around, you can get the boot mode Wi-Fi agent for $150. But if you want to save yourself some money, you can just go buy a Raspberry Pi 3 and buy the case for it along with the USB cable, an SD card, and just download the boot mode firmware onto the Raspberry Pi 3, and there's your Wi-Fi agent for a lot less money. And the last thing in the optional category is spark plugs. If you go stage 2, you're probably going to want to upgrade your spark plugs. For the N55 engine, it looks like people are buying the NGK One Step Colder 97506 spark plugs. If you don't want to run into any issues with misfiring or whatever else might happen, you should probably upgrade the spark plugs before you go stage 2. Now this brings the total for the optional / recommended section to $565. So if you're planning on going to stage 1 and then eventually stage 2, you can expect to spend about $1,575. And if you're planning on also buying the optional parts, you can expect to spend about $2,140 for everything. I showed you all the parts I got and how much money I paid for them, so next it's time to look at some performance numbers. The F30 BMW 335i comes stock with 300 horsepower and 300 foot-pounds of torque. I'm looking at the Pro Tuning Freaks website, and they're the people who made Bootmod. And according to them, stage 1 electronic wastegate 91 octane tune gives you these power gains. Now I'm stuck with the 91 octane tune because I don't have 93 gas where I live and it sucks. So stage 1, you can expect a 25% horsepower gain, which would put me at 375 horsepower, and a 28% torque gain, which would put me at 384 torque. Let's move on to stage 2. With stage 2, you can expect a 31% horsepower gain, which would put me at 393 horsepower, and a 34% torque gain, which would put me at 402 torque. These numbers are obviously to the crank, not to the wheel. The car feels so much faster now than it did when it was stock, so I totally believe those numbers. Thank you guys for watching. This is just my build. This is how I tune the car, but there are so many different ways and different combinations that you can get to stage 1 or stage 2, and you can end up spending half of the money that I spent by getting a cheaper tuning software and maybe some used parts. You can also spend double the money that I spend if you go with the more expensive bolt-on parts. I'm once again going to mention the charge pipe. I included it in the stage 2 totals instead of the stage 1 totals because I tuned my car to stage 1 before I got the charge pipe. Now if you're planning on tuning your car to stage 1, maybe get the charge pipe before you do that if you want to play it safe. There are 2 costs I did not mention in my totals, and that is tax and labor. The reason I didn't mention these are because it really varies depending on where you live and what shop you go to. Now I live in a state with no sales tax, so the numbers you saw, that is what I actually paid. If you have sales tax, sorry, I can't relate. And when it comes to labor, these bolt-on parts can be installed at home. It's really not that hard. You just need some basic tools and you need to be able to lift the car up. Let me know what build you're running, what parts you used, how much money you spent on the parts, and make sure you subscribe because I am putting out 2 videos a week.